There's some big news to go over today. The Los Angeles Lakers have made a surprising signing as we are now just hours away from opening night. The Lakers and Rob Pelinka have made a move that has fans split. We're to break that down, but also discuss a pretty devastating injury update surrounding Maxi Kleber. And things have taken a shocking turn on his end once again. A ton to go over on this episode, but before we get into it all, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, if you're excited for the regular season beginning tonight for the Lakers against the Warriors, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. You guys have been absolute beasts, folks. A lot to go over today, and there's been some surprising moves that have happened and surprising and unfortunate injury updates. Let's start with, of course, the moves. Now, you can see this here. It's been confirmed by Dave McMenamin and the Lakers themselves that the Lakers have exercised their contract option on Dalton Knecht for next season for $4.2 million, a source confirmed to ESPN. So they have signed and taken over the option, which again is going to be $4.2 million towards their books. Now, this is very interesting because all offseason long, and really ever since they kind of, drafted him, he looked really good at the start. And then in this past offseason, after they traded him, that got rescinded into now the past few weeks. There's been a bunch of reports about how he is a negative asset to the Lakers, and that not necessarily a negative asset to the Lakers, but a negative asset as it pertains to being a trade piece. And that's how other teams view him, which is quite interesting. And just to kind of clarify, this is the 2026-2027 rookie scale team option. So they could have had the choice to not go for it, and then ultimately they would have saved $4.2 million for the following year. This isn't just this year. He was already under contract for this upcoming season, which starts tonight, but this is for next year. And this is basically the Lakers putting a vote of confidence into Dalton Knecht returning to the form that he was prior to him getting traded, prior to him falling out of JJ Redick's rotation. And I don't necessarily hate it. Obviously, with the way that the cap is going and things like that, with the CBA, teams are being a bit more strict with their spending. But clearly they believe that at least this year, after a full offseason of work, we know that JJ Redick has recently come out and said that Dalton Knecht has had one of the best, he said the best, offseason of training out of any of the players on the Lakers staff and team, of course, as well, and he's used the staff to help him, that he is going to have a breakout year. That's what they're hoping for. Now, the scary thing is, like I just mentioned, he briefly and pretty much, very quickly at the same time, obviously it was brief at the beginning and then turned into a longer tenured thing, where he was completely out of the rotation following the trade deadline. And there was brief periods where he did really, really well. He shot the three ball well. He was running the fast break well, especially under Luka Doncic. But he never really got his feet under him. And you look at his stats from this previous year, finished with fairly respectable stats. And if you didn't watch the Lakers games, you're probably thinking, okay, this is a bit of a steal for a guy like Dalton Knecht, who at $4.2 million, that's not a bad price at all for someone who averaged almost 10 points a game, shot above league average from three, all these different things. But again, his defense has been really, really bad. That's the biggest thing that this team needs improvements on from last year. We saw against the Timberwolves, a team that was pretty defensive minded. Rudy Gobert, McDaniels, all these different guys. They were ready to go, and they, clamped the Lakers ultimately for that playoff series. Now, Dalton Knecht, his defense has been a problem. He got blown by a lot. We had it in our post-game videos last year. Hunter Akeshi and I consistently talked about how he would get blown by. And then obviously, if you have him and Luka Doncic on the floor at the same time, that's a big defensive issue. But let me know down below. Do you think it's a good signing? Do you think that adding something like this to their books, which is $4.2 million, is going to hinder them? They wouldn't do it if it would hinder their spending long term. They obviously have new ownership now with Mark Walters, and they're willing to spend some more money on some of these. I don't want to call Dalton Knecht a fringe rotation player because he is probably going to get into the rotation for the Lakers this year because of the injuries that have happened to them. And we're probably going to see, Gabe Vincent available to start the season as the starter in the starting lineup, which is ludicrous, as it is. And things haven't started great as it pertains to the injuries, but they want to lock him up. And if he has a great year this year, if he improves even at all on what he did last year, let's say he puts up 12, 13 points, $4.2 million is a steal. And it's not often where, a first round pick would go without the team picking up their team option, but there has been occasions on that. And with all the media kind of hating on Dalton Knecht and saying that he has negative value according to other teams' executives, it's good to see that the Lakers, at least for his confidence, have faith in him. He's only 23, he'll be 24 now. So his age 24 season, a lot of things to keep an eye out for, and it's going to be interesting. Now, speaking of interesting, there was an injury update moments ago. Maxi Kleber will be reevaluated in around 2 weeks, which is not great, right? Not great at all. Mainly for the point of this has been somebody ever since getting traded over in that Luka Doncic trade has dealt with injuries. Now, he's obviously hasn't had a fantastic tenure and hasn't had a great past couple years at all. Like last year was really bad for him with the Mavericks, wasn't much better with the Lakers, wasn't hugely in the rotation for the Lakers, but 2 weeks is when he's going to be reevaluated. So now the Lakers are without Maxi Kleber, and of course they're without LeBron James, and with that, they're going to have a next man up mentality. Now, prior to Tuesday, Kleber was listed as questionable for the season opener, and the story all offseason long was how Kleber is feeling fully healthy, ready to go, and they do have centers, right? They have DeAndre Ayton, they have Jackson Hayes, so you don't necessarily need that third string center, bearing some, disaster class by a couple of those guys, but it's interesting how the injury kind of changed quickly. It went from questionable to tonight's game to out for 2 weeks and will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. And he's 33 years old. And with an unclear timeline, the Lakers now look to rely heavily on backup center Jackson Hayes, whose minutes will surely increase now that Kleber is no longer part of their rotation. And I was curious to see how a healthy Maxi Kleber was going to do. He was dunking. He looked athletic. He obviously played with Luka Doncic during a lot of his great years, the championship year. And I was curious to see. He's had some really good years. He was Sixth Man of the Year finalist, I believe, in 1 year as well, and was looking like a really good player. But now, with all that being said, the Lakers are entering the season shorthanded with multiple key players out. Of course, we know LeBron James, that's the biggest one. Maxi Kleber, Adu Thiero. There's a lot of guys here. And for Adu Thiero, he's looking really, really, exciting and promising. But he's going to have to get healthy first. And every team hopes to be healthy heading into the beginning of the regular season. But obviously, at this point, things happen. LeBron James is going to be the biggest one that I think we're missing. But that might be part of the reason that they're putting this vote of confidence into Dalton Knecht. Like, he's going to get a chance out of the gate. I expect him to get 15, 20 minutes tonight, maybe 10 to 15, depending on how people are playing. Of course, at this juncture, he needs to perform better. And I'm curious to see how his defense, he looked really bad in the, summer league and preseason there. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. And you look, the starting lineup projected, again, seemingly Gabe Vincent is going to slide into the starting lineup. So you have Jake LaRavia off the bench, Marcus Smart, Jared Vanderbilt, Jackson Hayes. They do have Koloko on the two-way, so I guess technically they could use him if needed, which if you're using him, that means probably either some severe foul trouble from Ayton or Hayes or just lack of effort out there. And it's interesting because you look at the starters in the second unit, you don't see Dalton Knecht there. Of course, he is a part of the third strings according to this depth chart from CBS Sports, but a big vote in confidence for him from Rob Pelinka. And you look at the schedule ahead, you play Golden State and then Minnesota, and he's out for 2 weeks. So Maxi Kleber, that is. Not that Maxi Kleber will make a massive, massive difference, but Dalton Knecht's going to have to step up. That's ultimately what, at the end of the day, that's what the biggest storyline here is. It's not the fact that they picked up his option necessarily. It's the fact that they have a lot of players that need to step up for them to take out this very big, not gauntlet of a first, month or so, first few weeks, but a very difficult schedule starting tonight with Jimmy Butler, Stephen Curry, and of course, the Golden State Warriors with Draymond Green. So it's going to be exciting. We should have a post-game video following that. We will have a post-game video following that. So make sure to stay tuned. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on the signing and, of course, the injury. Thank you guys for watching. And it's going to be a very exciting, hopefully, season of good ball.